Hey,
What
everybody.
up?
It's episode 3.
Missing reels.
Missing Reels.
What?
We are late on this episode.
Very late.
But the three of you, or four?
Four.
It's 4, I think?
Well,
Yeah.
my girlfriend was listening to the second episode, and she hasn't seen Cat People, so I
So she just listened to the first,
first part, and then
Okay.
I told her to turn it off.
Okay, yeah.
Cause because she wasn't getting the concept, probably because we didn't explain the concept of the podcast.
It's gonna work.
Yeah, we're working out the kinks.
Now the process, the concept of the show. In case this is your first episode.
Yeah, if you are number 5.
Yeah, number 5. We're talking to you. If this is your first episode, the process. I keep saying process. The concept of the episode is I, Tim May, by the way.
And I am Dabeedo.
Right, yes, we didn't introduce it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Dabeedo is a very knowledgeable student of film. But there are many obvious classics and, cult classics that he has not seen. So basically, this is a way for me to force him to watch most of those movies that I feel like he hasn't seen yet.
Right.
That he needs to see.
Right. So the whole
every episode,
we watch a new movie. All right, and I don't know what the movie is. Tim will give me 2 to 3 terrible, awful hints.
oh, those clues are. If you think about it, you'll get it.
Oh my god, this actor is still acting. What?
Well, these ones are a little more specific.
Okay, so we watch a movie that I've never seen before. I don't know the movie prior to Tim hitting play, and then we discuss the movie afterwards. So there's a break in the podcast where Tim usually puts a trailer for the movie. So we encourage you to also watch the movie along.
I always tell you what the next movie is at the end of each episode.
Right. Well, watch the movie along with us, turn the podcast back on,
that's a cool way.
and then it's like you're having the conversation with us. So, yeah, that's the whole. It's we're trying to be interactive, but not really.
But before the movie, typically we've decided we're going to talk a little bit about some movies, other movies we've seen recently that we want to talk about. Maybe a piece of movie news.
Right.
And then, of course, actually, the first thing we really should get to is your homework from episode 1.
Your homework. Yeah.
Now, at the end of each episode, I give Dabeedo a piece of homework for him to watch or listen to or read. For him to watch or listen to or read that it has something to do with the movie we just watched. And 2 episodes later, he has to report back. Now, in the first episode, we watched A Hard Day's Night. And so Dabeedo is infamously now, with our 4 listeners, got into the Beatles through Beatles Rock Band. So I gave him 3 Beatles albums to listen to. I believe they were
Hard Day's Night.
It was no.
Beatles
for Sale.
Beatles for Sale. Abbey Road. Revolver.
Yeah, or wrong order, but yeah, sure.
Right.
Okay. So, and have you done your homework? You've had almost 2 months to do this. Okay.
I realized since on the drive here I forgot to put those albums on my phone because I wanted to give them a re-listen. Okay. But I have listened to all 3 of them.
Okay. How many times?
Probably 2 to 3 times each.
Okay.
I probably should have done it a little bit more.
That's fine.
The one I listened to the most was Revolver. Revolver was my favorite.
Revolver's a lot of people's favorite.
Right. My second favorite was probably I can't remember the name of it. Not Abbey Road.
Beatles for Sale?
Beatles for Sale I liked more than Abbey Road.
Okay. All right. Well, I love Beatles for Sale. I think it's the most underrated Beatles album.
all 3 of them are 10. So
but I think Abbey Road is probably my favorite or second favorite Beatles album. So that is a dubious claim on your part. But I do love Beatles for Sale. There's lots of great songs on it. I especially love I'm a Loser.
Yeah, I like that one.
One of my favorite songs of theirs. And then there's just a lot of underrated stuff on that record. No Reply and I'll Follow the Sun. Lots of good stuff.
Right.
But Abbey Road, I mean, come on now.
It was I said, they're all great. They're all 10s, but Beatles for Sale had more of that upbeat fun Like,
Okay.
yeah. That
You got to listen to the whole discography, and then the true power of Abbey Road.
Well, yeah,
because
I could tell I was like going through like various transition points.
Well,
like,
I wanted to give you like basically
broad-
one early record, one middle period, and one. And
Right.
Abbey Road's their last album, really. So, yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed them. I hope you are you going to continue listening to the rest of their records? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't have to report back on that, at least on the show. But I would
Right.
love to hear your views on the whole catalog.
Right.
Anyway.
And then the other homework was to watch Head.
Yes, that was. Did you watch the Monkees movie Head, directed
Yes.
by Bob Rafelson, who went on to do 5 Easy Pieces, which is an American classic. But
That I
this
need
is
to
his
see.
first movie. So, what did you think of Head?
I thought Head was super fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. I mean, it was just a series of vignettes, but I mean, it was fun.
It was okay.
And then like I was like, there was one scene. Well, my favorite scene was like, I don't know why, but the one scene that sticks out to me is like when they're in the vacuum cleaner.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
I thought that was, like,
that's
cool.
really inventive. and
Yeah.
fun.
The one scene that stuck out to me though, one thing I noticed though was like, hey, is that Jack Nicholson? Like, oh, like, wait,
He co-wrote that movie.
Yeah, I found that out at the end. I was like, whoa, like Jack Nicholson like wrote it.
Well,
Shit.
he was coming off of all those Roger Corman movies that he was a screenwriter for, and he like did like bit parts in them, and that's what he was gonna do, was just be a screenwriter. But I mean, then he started acting in Easy Rider, and that led to that. Have you seen Easy Rider, brother?
No, I haven't seen Easy Rider.
That's on the list, I guess. Jack Nicholson actually he directed 2 or maybe 3 movies, but I saw his directorial debut, which is in that Criterion set that Head's in, called Drive, he said, and that one's not that well regarded, but I actually think it's a pretty interesting movie. It kind of flubs the ending, but like there's lots of really cool stuff. It's like takes place in a university in the early 70s, and it's about a basketball star, and then like there's all these protests and stuff. It's a little confused thematically, but it's an interesting movie. Definitely worth checking out for you Nicholson heads. So, anyway, we're moving on to
Okay.
I'm glad you did your homework. We have more homework next week.
That I have not done yet.
Okay, well,
So,
whatever. We're not recording that episode.
Yeah, I know, right.
Anyway, so
so
next thing, I mean, what have you been watching?
what have I been watching? Well, let's see. I finally watched Iron Man 3.
I like that movie.
Yeah,
It's
because
fun.
I remember when it was coming out, we saw the trailer and we thought Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin's voice was so funny. You will never see me coming. Me and Tim had this whole. We had a short film planned out in which
Oh my God.
because like in all the trailers, like the Mandarin was always like, "You consider me a monster? I consider myself a teacher." And me and Tim in college had this idea of a fan film in which the Mandarin was a high school teacher. And at the very end of it, like he's like, he was just like, something at one point he's like teaching the kids like, you believe in the Loch Ness monster? This does not exist. And then at the very end, like one kid asked him, Mr. Mandarin, what are we doing tomorrow? And he goes, you will never see it coming, as he's shuffling a bunch of pop quizzes.
Oh man,
God, that was stupid.
that was so classic.
So Iron Man 3,
It's a fun movie.
I like, that's probably my favorite Iron Man.
I think it's easily the best.
People were like shitting on that nonstop, and that's probably my favorite.
I think it's easily the best. I think it kind of makes me dubious about Tony Stark continuing to be in the movies, honestly, because I feel like the ending is such a good, like, solid conclusion for his character.
Right.
At least as Iron Man, like, maybe he could keep being in there, but, like,
Right, yeah.
as, like, a, billionaire, weapons designer or whatever.
And it'll be interesting to see how that, like, all factors into Avengers 2, and then, of course,
Captain
eventually
America,
Civil War,
all
which
that
we won't talk about that, but Avengers 2, that trailer looks great.
I think it looks really good.
Yeah.
I was impressed. I liked the Pinocchio
Yeah,
shit.
that was so good.
That made me laugh. That was classic Whedon.
Classic
I thought,
Whedon,
yeah.
and then like the tone of the trailer is just classic dark Whedon. My
Yeah.
favorite thing about that trailer was like when that.
Here's what I want out of Avengers 2. I want I want the Whedon who made the body.
Yeah,
like I don't want
the Buffy episode.
I don't want
body.
like Firefly Whedon. Like fuck that shit. I want Buffy, like dark Buffy Whedon.
Yeah,
like that.
The season. What season is that? That's season 5.
Yeah.
Season 5 is the darkest season ever of
well,
any
season
TV.
6, I think, is.
Oh, well,
even
both
more,
of them are so
like,
dark.
Basically, because like 5, that happens near the end.
Right.
Spoilers for 10, 15-year-old television show.
Well, actually, don't spoil this because I'm
Okay.
trying to get my girlfriend into Buffy.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So,
well, you guys all know what I'm talking about.
right, and then like, so a character dies, and then like at the very end of that season, another character dies, and then at the start of the next season, they resurrect that second character, and it's just like,
And then like drugs, and
all
just,
kinds of like
all kinds of
drugs,
crazy
sex.
stuff.
Oh, it's so dark.
Yeah, it's a great season.
Right.
Season 6 of Buffy is the most underrated season because everybody pretends like it's bad. I have no
Right.
clue why. It's so
Season 4 is my least
good.
favorite.
4 is probably my least favorite. Then probably like 7.
Yeah,
and
7.
and then like all the other ones are great. I mean, 1 is a little rough, but like everything else is like incredible.
Right. Well,
Um,
going back to watch season 1 is rough. Like the start.
It's a fun start.
Yeah, I thought
sure.
it was like a fun start first time we watched. Okay.
Anyway,
So yeah,
too much of a tangent.
my favorite part of that trailer was when that like super fucked up Ultron like came out
Yeah,
and
it
like
looked great.
and everybody was like, "Oh my god, what is that?"
I thought it looked like aesthetically. I thought it looked a lot better than Avengers did too.
Right.
To me, because like I think Avengers is like one of the ugliest like pretty good movies ever. Like it's like it's so like I hate looking at it. It's so brightly lit. I just want
It is. There's no real mood lighting to it at all. Like, okay, so then, well, I guess while we're on the topic of trailers, let's talk about Jurassic World.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that. We'll save the other trailer for the end of the first
Okay, how about this?
Okay.
Since I mentioned Jurassic World, we'll talk about Jurassic World. Then we'll talk about movies we're watching, since we segued off of that by me mentioning Iron Man 3.
Okay, because I have a couple I want to get to.
Yeah, and I do too.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Sorry, you have to hear our process.
all right. So Jurassic World trailer hit.
I think it looks fine.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like, I've seen some people, like, flipping out that it looks, like, incredible. Those people are just crazy, I think.
I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm definitely going to
I'm
see
excited
it.
for it just, like, as a movie to see. But, like, the people that are, like hating it, like, I don't get that either. Like, that's, like, it looks fine to me. It definitely looks better than 3.
Right, that's all it has to do in my eyes. It has to be better than 3.
Yeah.
And, like, already, like, right off the bat, the whole aspect of it is ridiculous. Like, wow, Jurassic Park actually opened and they called it Jurassic World. Like the dream has finally been realized, and like the
I think the premise is strong.
Right.
But I just like I don't know if I've never loved a Jurassic Park movie since the first one. Like,
yeah,
I think the second one has some incredible set pieces, but is overall pretty hollow and one of Spielberg's worst movies. But and like 3, I think is just whatever. I don't care about it at all. And I hate the way they just shuffle Laura Dern out of the movie, like at the beginning. How it's like basically they just say like, oh, like it didn't work out between her and Sam Neill, which is like the whole like emotional core of the first movie. That made me so angry, and I love Laura Dern too, so that made me even more angry. But yeah, I think it looks fine. I like Chris Pratt. I like Bryce Dallas Howard. I think I don't love the director's first movie, Safety Not Guaranteed, but we'll see how he does.
Right. The thing that like it looks fun to me, which like I mean,
which 3 wasn't.
Jurassic Park 3 was not fun at all. Like
I just didn't have any fun with it.
Right.
Movie,
so I mean, it looks completely ridiculous. Like that the SeaWorld-esque like dinosaur eating the great white shark. That was ridiculous. And then like the idea that they hint at the end that like there's this genetically engineered dinosaur loose, and like Chris Pratt releases the Velociraptors, who he teams up with to hunt it.
I'm not too fond of that, because like the Velociraptors are like one of the great villains. Why do all villains need to be defanged by all these like endless sequels?
Well, they're still villains, but they're still villains. But they have to.
But they're like teaming up. Like
the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
The villain team up is so like you have to do it so well for me to care about it. Like,
but we'll see how.
I mean, they're not actually, like, they're obviously different velociraptors probably than the ones from the first
Well, yeah,
one.
because they don't have fucking feathers on their head like the third movie.
Oh, what? Okay, let's move on from this.
But yeah, Chris Pratt's on fire. Love him right now.
So back to what we've been watching.
Okay.
I have one.
Yo, go ahead.
I've been catching up with some, like, smaller movies from this year, and there's two that I just, like, are so good. There's one that I think you especially will really like called Listen Up, Philip.
Okay.
It stars Jason Schwartzman.
Already
and
great.
Elizabeth Moss from Mad Men, and it has like Kristen Ritter from Breaking Bad, and like a couple other people you might recognize. But it's directed by this guy Alex Ross Perry, who made a movie a few years ago called The Color Wheel that I really liked, which is like a small, like the best like actual like American independent movie I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's like his first kind of bigger movie. And it's basically about a writer who's like an asshole, which sounds just generic, but like it's so funny, and like it's shot on like super 16 millimeter, and it looks incredible, and the performances, especially Elizabeth Moss, but also Jason Schwartzman,
right?
But especially Elizabeth Moss, she is so good in this movie. There's a 20-minute section that's like almost solely focused on her. That is one of the best stretches of a movie I've seen in a long time. So I highly recommend Listen Up, Philip. That's a really good movie. You can find it on like iTunes and shit. It should be. I assume it'll be on like streaming services soon.
All right, and then what was the second one?
The other one is The Immigrant, which is directed by James Gray, who's made he's made a lot of movies that you might have heard of. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Two Lovers.
No.
It's stars Joaquin Phoenix, and Joaquin Phoenix and him are basically boys. He's in like almost all of his movies. And this movie stars Marion Cotillard as like a Polish immigrant who comes to America through Ellis Island in like the early 20s, and she falls in with Joaquin Phoenix, who turns out to be like a pimp basically, and Joaquin Phoenix's cousin is played by Jeremy Renner, who plays this illusionist like guy who's like the only non-scumbag in the whole movie.
Wow,
and
that sounds really good.
It's a really really good movie. It's on Netflix, so I highly recommend
watch
it.
That,
It's beautifully shot. The cinematographer Darius Kanji. It's like shot like it looks like a movie from like 40 years ago, and it's a great movie. I was just totally taken back by it. The final shot of this movie is the shot of the year. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's the best shot of the year. It's like a perfect image. I was blown away. So
movies that I've been watching. Have you ever heard of a movie called Fun?
No.
Okay. Fun came out, I think, I don't know, I'm totally, completely wrong on this, and I would, like, look up the directors, I don't know them, but, like, Fun is, like, is a movie that was at Sundance the same time Clerks was, and, like, Kevin Smith, like, became, like, good friends with, like, the director and the producer, who were, like, a couple. It was a woman.
I think somebody told me.
Yeah, and the movie has, like, I got the VHS, a screener copy of the VHS, and it says on the cover, like, our children are out murdering people, and they're doing it all for the fun of it, like, so the whole point
the of it kind of ruins the tagline.
Well, I screwed that up, but it just said fun. So the movie's called Fun, and it's just like black and white, shot on like I'm not sure what it was shot on, but
probably
like
16.
probably 16, shot in Los Angeles, so it has that like. I mean, it looks just same time period as Pulp Fiction, like Los Angeles.
Like mid-90s.
Yeah, mid-90s Los Angeles, which has like a really interesting look to it. And it's about these two girls who meet, and they kill a person, and then like the way the story is revealed is like they're being interviewed by a magazine in like the juvenile detention facility. So you get like vignettes. So like the one girl has been like. Was sexually abused for like years by her father and stuff, so like it was you'd like really like it. It was really good.
I'll check that out.
I'll bring it up next time.
Yeah, bring it up.
So Fun, check that out. I don't know any information on who made it, but then it's actually funny if you listen to Smodcast, the Kevin Smith podcast. I'm like 100% sure like Kevin talks about how he had like a love for the director, but she was like a lesbian.
I think that was...
It was recent.
I'm almost positive that was the movie Go Fish.
Oh, you're probably right.
At the same time.
Well,
I mean, That's in the Chasing Amy documentary.
Oh, okay.
They talk
I
about
know
that.
where I'm screwing this up. The lead girl in Fun, Kevin Smith saw the movie Castor Mallrats.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of our mutual friends told us about it.
Yeah. Okay. So
is that, do you have another movie to talk about? Or?
I watched Fun. Then the other night, I was in the mood for an action movie. Like, I wanted super new action. That's actually why I went out and rented Iron Man 3. But the night that I was into it, the weather was real shitty, and I was on Netflix, could not find anything. I was about to, settle on Dredd, the Judge Dredd.
I heard that's really
I've
good.
heard it's good, too.
I haven't seen it.
But, my girlfriend was like, I don't really want to watch that. And I was like, well, have you seen Die Hard? And she goes, yeah. I was like, all right, getting Die Hard 2. Go over to my video shelf. Forgot, I don't own Die Hard 2.
Why would you own Die Hard 2? I'm curious your thoughts on this.
Well, I bought a whole bunch of sequels, on VHS, at Goodwill, because they were having, a sale, get a whole bag for $5.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And I bought all the Lethal Weapon sequels. Thought I bought all the Die Hard sequels, did not. So I was like, fuck. Then I saw a movie on the shelf, Suburban Commando, starring Hulk Hogan, Shelley Duvall, and Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, boy.
And the whole movie...
I've never seen this.
The movie was originally written as Urban Commando, and it was written for Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they decided to make twins, so they rewrote the movie for Hulk Hogan. So, I'm guessing, Danny DeVito would have been the Christopher Lloyd character, and Arnold would have been the Hulk Hogan character. But it's about this space warrior, played by Hulk Hogan, and, of course, there's this big scene where there's this evil criminal galactic mastermind. He has some, planet's president hostage, and, Hogan comes in to save them, but he, blows up the whole ship. The president ends up dying, and, fucking Hogan's handlers were like, you know what, you should go lay low for a while. You've lost your touch. Go to the nearest planet and, recharge your ship, but, recharge it so, there's no energy signal or whatever. And, so he's, basically it has to go to Earth and be there for 6 weeks. And he meets Shelley Duvall and Christopher Lloyd, who are a married couple with kids. And, of course, antics ensue from there. The movie's fun. Movie is a lot of fun. There's some weird story points, he only really teams up with Christopher Lloyd. You think the wife and kids would have been involved more. The whole family would have been involved.
Yeah.
They weren't really. I don't even, remember the kids at all. But if you're a wrestling fan, The Undertaker is also in it. It's the only movie The Undertaker's ever done. So I can see why, because he was probably like, oh my god,
wow.
That was so terrible.
Have you seen No Holds Barred, the Hulk Hogan movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm not a wrestling fan, unlike Dabeedo, but No Holds Barred is a classic shitty movie. It's filled with great stuff. It has, I don't know if do you know who Zeus is, the wrestler Zeus?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's introduced in this movie, and he lasted for a year or two in the WWF.
Wow.
But this movie is hilarious. Definitely see. I think one of our friends owns it, so you can borrow it.
The only other Hogan movie I've seen is Thunder in Paradise, which
I've never seen that.
Thunder in Paradise was the 2-hour pilot for a TV show called Thunder in Paradise.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've watched that. He made it after he left WWF and right before he joined WCW. So they shot it I found this interesting. They shot the show in Disney World, and I'm a big fan of Disney parks and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they shot it in Disney World, which WCW was also filming. This was back when MGM Studios, now Disney Hollywood Studios, was still an active movie studio.
Right.
So Thunder in Paradise was being shot there, and so was WCW. And
might be how that happened.
That's actually how it happened, because
wow.
Ric Flair and Eric Bischoff would constantly go to the Thunder in Paradise set and just talk to Hogan, and because of that, Hogan started to miss wrestling, right. And then he eventually signed a contract with WCW.
Well, okay. Now that we're done talking about wrestling,
right? Okay, moving on. And then so I watched that, and then a little while back, I've not seen all the James Bond movies, and
oh right, you've been watching these,
they were on Netflix for a while, and I cranked out all of the Sean Connery ones except Diamonds Are Forever.
And On Her Majesty's.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay. So, my feelings were, before seeing Diamonds Are Forever, my rank goes Goldfinger, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Dr. No, Spy Who Loved Me. Oh, wait, I take that back.
Spy Who Loved Me you've never seen.
No, From Russia With Love, I mean.
Okay.
I forgot Thunderball. Thunderball's my third favorite. So it goes, okay, Goldfinger, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Oh my god, I forgot you only lived twice, too. Fuck.
And you're ranking From Russia With Love so low. I don't even... We're moving on from this.
Okay, so my favorite one's Goldfinger. So, okay, so I finally watched Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay.
Completely, like, wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be, but still pretty lousy.
He's really bloated in that one.
He's really bloated, and you can tell he doesn't want to be there. Because, like, I like George Lazenby.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Bond movies too, yeah.
Right, and he's just, like, George Lazenby is almost the exact same thing as Sean Connery was in, like, the early movies. So, like, the fact that fans were, like, pissed off about that, they're idiots. And the fact that they were pissed off about that, we got a shitty Bond film with Sean Connery in it, who didn't want to be in that. And then, of course, because of that, we got Roger Moore. So that brings me to Live and Let Die, which, from going back to Beatles, which has an amazing theme song by Paul McCartney.
It's the best Bond song.
Yeah, is the best Bond song. Otherwise, is one of the worst Bond movies ever.
Well,
not the worst one I've seen so far. Roger Moore.
It's not a good one. No.
Roger Moore is so completely uncharming. He's just like, I
think it gets better. I think you'll be okay because next one's what, Man with the Golden Gun,
Yeah,
and then after that is Spy Who Loved Me, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Spy Who Loved Me is a really great one, so look forward to that one. Man with the Golden Gun is not like a great movie, but it has it's kind of like a fun Bond movie. It has Christopher Lee as the bad guy.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So it's you got a couple decent ones coming up, and then after that, I hate basically all the Moore movies. But then, yeah, we'll talk. I'm sure you'll keep watching these.
We'll
keep us updated.
Right, so
on your Bond thing. So we got to get to this one last subject before we're already at like 25 minutes or something.
Hilarious.
We got one last subject before we start the movie.
So today is Saturday the 29th.
And yesterday, the first trailer for Star Wars Episode 7.
No, it's Star Wars The Force Awakens.
They're going to have Episode 7 in the crawl. Come on now. Like, I know they're advertising that way, but Empire Strikes Back wasn't advertised as Episode 5.
True.
And Episode
That's
5
very
is still in
true.
the crawl, and it's still part of the title. So, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, which I don't know how you feel about the title.
Okay, we'll start there. Yeah. The title to me is safe.
I think it's uninspiring.
It's not bad. It's not great.
Yeah. It's not Attack of the Clones, but it's also not Revenge of the Sith. Or The Empire Strikes Back.
Right, it really gives you no definition as to, like, what's going to happen in this movie. It's just as, like...
It's the most J.J. Abrams title of all time. Abrams is obsessed with concealing as much as possible, which in some ways I appreciate, and, like, in other ways I just find kind of jokerish.
Right, because you hated Star Trek Into Darkness.
Well, I hate Star Trek Into Darkness so much, and a big part of it, of that movie's problem was... the way they marketed it, like, it's by just lying, basically saying it's not Khan.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams like, Khan. It's not Khan. It's not Khan.
No, nice try, but whatever. That movie has other problems. It's just a bad movie, bad screenplay.
But you know what the good thing about that movie is? That movie has an amazing title.
I kind of like the title. I go back and forth on the title. I liked it in the lead up to it, but now that I hate the movie so much, the title almost just pisses me off. But anyway, this movie, though, this trailer... it's the ultimate J.J. Abrams trailer.
Right. It
gives nothing away, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. We're still a year out.
Right, it's a teaser trailer.
I don't want them to give anything away. And they don't include any of the original cast members.
Which I liked.
Which I liked too, because I'm like, ooh, where are they? What are they doing?
Right.
That's exciting. And I also was curious about, like, what role some of these new people would be playing. And I actually got to say, two things I really did love in the trailer.
Okay.
There are definitely two things. Three, actually. The first shot of, I assume Tatooine.
Yeah. It has to be Tatooine.
It has to be Tatooine. If there's another desert planet, I don't know how I feel about that. Right. That's a little...
That'll be bullshit if it's another desert planet.
I think it'll be Tatooine, but And the way John Boyega, the actor
Right.
in the Stormtrooper getup, the way he comes into the frame, that's like actually a fairly bold cinematic choice for what is like a franchise reboot, basically.
Right, because essentially that shot right there, well, first off, in having none of the original cast, and that shot right there says, like, this is not...
Here's our guy.
This is, like, here's our guy, this is our Star Wars, this isn't this guy's Star Wars, this
Right.
isn't your father's Star Wars, this is our Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, this is our take on it.
And like the way he comes very suddenly into the frame. Also, it's interesting because there have only been, like 2 black characters in the history of Star Wars?
Yes.
That the first character we see from the movies is the black guy.
One being Lando, one being Captain Tanaka. Like,
You're Mace Windu?
oh, Mace Windu.
Okay, whatever.
But,
anyway,
but
that's interesting. And then the next character we meet is
the girl.
Daisy Ridley is
Right.
the actress's name, and she's riding some sort of speeder.
Right. Also interesting, if you look in the background of that scene, there look like they're pod racer engines, like in the background.
so
that
it
has to be
better be
Tatooine.
Tatooine.
If it is
will
not
be so
Tatooine,
mad.
I'll be so pissed.
Anyway, and then
We see the stormtroopers.
we see the Stormtroopers, which I like the new design. I'm satisfied.
I
with
like the mask, but
I don't think we get a good enough shot.
We don't get a good enough shot because we see the guy at the beginning has armor on, but like the chest plate seems really odd, and the back. I noticed that I saw a side-by-side comparison. On the back of the original Stormtrooper, there's like this raised square panel,
right.
And in the square panel is a circle and 3 lines. And on the back of the new one, the new back is completely smooth, no panel, but we still get the circle and 3 lines.
Huh. Well, that seems like a reasonable
Right.
evolution of design.
Right, but I'm kind of worried that the armor itself was way too simplified, but like the helmet itself has been like
Complicated
in some way because the way the new helmet looks is like awesome. Like
I think it looks great. Yeah,
I love that new helmet.
I like it a lot. But then the next thing, the second thing that I loved was the X-wing stuff, and you see Oscar Isaac, who I think is one of the best actors working right now. In there, I couldn't tell it was him at first, but then I saw a screen capture.
Right.
That's definitely him. If you haven't seen Inside Llewyn Davis, the Coen Brothers movie, see it. Anyway, it's like one of the best movies of the last 15 years. I'll just go all out. It's a great movie. And he's incredible in it. But I'm excited to see he's like an X-Wing pilot. That seems interesting. I'm so curious about who he is or who any of his characters are. And then after that...
Well, one thing that does confirm is that the rebellion is still there. And we still have the Empire
is still there, but we don't really know what their roles are.
Right.
So I think that's interesting.
This is something we've discussed before that I want to discuss on here. That, okay, the expanded universe has painted that the original expanded universe that is now out of continuity. After the Battle of Endor, Rebels win, Rebels take over, everything's great. Luke establishes the new Jedi Temple. Yes. He gets married. Leia, and Han get married. They have a couple kids. Things are really happy-go-lucky.
Until they get absurdly gloomy and depressing.
Right. I think this movie makes it things were absurdly gloomy and depressing from the end of Return of the Jedi. Because let's face it, the Rebels just took out the Death Star. All they did was take out Darth Vader and the Emperor. There's a third person in command after that. There's still fleets of Star Destroyers all over the galaxy.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine with this. Here's my concern. Was the next thing that happens in the trailer. We see what I assume is the villain, some sort of Sith Lord.
Okay.
And here's my problem. Okay, to me, if the Sith come back, that undercuts the entire arc of the original movies. I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, I think that the whole point of the end of Jedi, it's not so much that the Empire ends, it's that Luke vanquishes the Sith, and at the dark side, and brings balance to the Force, like the prophecy, all the way back. So that, Luke and Anakin actually, but so I have a problem with that. I have no problem too much with these movies. I'm kind of treating them the same way I treated the books, just as movies.
Right.
It's just that I don't want the official continuation to be something that totally undermines the soul of the original movies.
What's going to be interesting is how does the Sith come back? If the Sith are in the movie, how do they come back? I'm curious.
I don't know if they are, because he's playing very coy in this trailer.
Right.
And what do you think of the voiceover?
The voiceover is...
I think it's whatever. It tells me nothing.
It's whatever. It tells me nothing. And it definitely sounds like a bad guy.
A lot of people are speculating it's Andy Serkis who's cast in the movie. I can't tell either. Maybe.
And if that is him, I'm excited.
Because I love Andy Serkis.
Yeah, I love him. Like, if you do not like him, just stop listening, because like
I don't think there's many people.
Right, because I just respect him. Like, if you don't like him and haven't seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, go see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then come back and talk to me. But
yeah, and then the final thing that I think everybody loved in the trailer is the last shot with the Falcon.
Yeah.
Oh my God! First of all, okay, this is a general thing. One thing I do appreciate about this movie so far, the aesthetic of the movie, is that it has the right look for Star Wars. It looks classic without seeming like it's just a pastiche of old Star Wars stuff.
Okay.
It still looks like a J.J. Abrams movie.
Two things that we haven't discussed, though. One thing I really liked about it, the opening shots, the desert shots, you could tell they're in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that droid thing, that weird little droid thing.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that, too. You could tell it's real. Like,
to some degree. I think it's enhanced by CGI.
Yeah,
which is fine. I have no problem
so that's something I really appreciated. We can't tell the planet the X-Wings are on, but it's really dark and gloomy.
Might be a new one.
Might be a new one. And that the bad guy, who we're assuming is a bad guy, being that he's dressed in black usually,
has a red lightsaber,
is like, I really like that shot of him walking. It he's just in the woods, the snow. That was a really nice shot. And the lightsaber, I really like that lightsaber.
Okay. This might be where our big disagreement is. Okay. Wait.
You go first.
I think aesthetically it looks kind of cool, and whatever. I just don't... there's things I like about it. I like that it's kind of a little more, looks like it's more on fire, sort of. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm not a huge fan of the guard, but it doesn't bother me for, practical reasons like a lot of people. I just don't know how much... It doesn't look that great, at least in that shot. It probably looked better in motion.
It didn't look great, but that guard is smart, being that
lost
hands is one of the most prevalent lightsaber injuries that you could possibly have. So the fact.
Although, I assume the guard isn't made of the same light material.
Well, I feel like it is somewhat, but it's there, so when somebody tries to cut off your hand, it hits that, and that blocks it. So it's
that's a major move for anyone using a lightsaber. I'm going to try to cut off your hand.
Yeah, that's the first thing they teach you in the academy. Go for the hand.
Oh boy.
But flaming lightsaber, that is
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That is
here's my problem with that shot in general. Not so much that it exists. If it's in the movie, that's fine.
Right.
My problem is that it's clearly they're trying to one-up the episode 1 trailer.
Yes, that is annoying.
With the double-bladed lightsaber,
which you can never top.
You can't top. I've always said that's incredible in that trailer, and it made me just freak out when I saw it as a kid. But they shouldn't have put it in there, because if that moment was the first time you ever saw that it was a double-bladed lightsaber, it was in the theater.
Right.
When he actually extends the second blade, people would have just rioted.
Oh my God! Well, that was the cool part of the teaser trailer, was oh shit, he's got a lightsaber, and then the second side comes out, and people are holy shit! It's not one, it's two.
I know, that's so good. Anyway,
so yeah, that is clearly a reference to the episode 1 trailer there.
The other thing that I think is necessary to talk about, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about, is that the first piece of music in the trailer is new John Williams music,
John Williams,
and I think it's great.
That was really nice.
Williams is the one truly, completely consistent thing through all the Star Wars movies.
Right.
He composed at least one new, incredible piece for each of the prequels, and I'm very excited. That's the thing I'm most excited about, because to me that's the only thing that's truly connecting it to the original movies.
So yeah, that was great. And going back to the lightsaber, I wish I could find these, but I specifically remember sitting in recess in elementary school and drawing flaming lightsabers, because I was really good at drawing flames.
I feel like that's the other thing about it that in some ways like and in other ways don't like. It looks like everything that every Star Wars fan when they were like in elementary school, like up to like age 13 or 14, was like drawing in their notebooks, like which in some ways is really cool, but in other ways it's like, oh man, they should have tried harder. I feel like, I don't know.
I can see that because I feel like people at Bad Robot are just like
the biggest like dorks, basically,
right?
Which is fine in this case. We'll see. I don't know. Here's here's the chronology. I started out when they first announced episode 7. I was like, no, I don't want this.
Okay, wait. Before we go any further here, when this happened...
This is the longest first segment of the podcast.
Me and Tim did 2 of the most ridiculous things ever. Okay,
oh, boy.
Tim came over, we watched the movie.
I was in my Bollywood cinema class. We were watching a movie called Delhi Belly that's like some independent Bollywood... Not independent, but like this alt Bollywood movie.
Yeah.
Okay, it was only 90 minutes as opposed to like 15 hours. So anyway, in the middle, and it was like the most entertained I'd been by one of the movies in that class. But in the middle of it, I got a text and I was like, oh, I don't want this. And so I just was like, I just let it go a few times. And then I like checked it because it was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it was from Dabeedo, and he was just like...
I think it was...
He was just like, Disney just bought Lucasfilm, they're making episode 7. It was like the most blunt thing ever, and I was like, whatever. Like, I just assumed he was just like lying to fuck with me, and I was just, what is happening? And then I get out of class, and like, it's like bothering me the whole class. I'm like, what? Like, that seems like such a dumb joke. Like, why would he even come up with that? And then so I was like, is it true? Like, did this really happen? And so I called him, and I was just like, yo, what's up? And he's just like, and you just said, come over, we're watching Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I come over and like I get the actual news. But...
So prior to Tim coming over, it was us, Lando, and Brooke.
Oh yeah,
we had decided we were going to watch episode 4, New Hope, the Blu-ray version, no less.
Oh boy.
Prior to this, I was so stricken with grief that I had gotten into the shower.
This really happened.
Laid down in the bathtub and drank, I think, like
2 beers.
2 beers. I had 2 shower beers.
And you sadly hummed Luke's theme from...
Oh, I don't remember that.
That's what our friend Blake told me.
Oh, hilarious. I don't remember that. Okay, so we get there. Everybody's kind of like grief-stricken. And... Tim said something that me and Brooke have said, like, okay, like, now that we've gone past this, like, we still can't believe you said this, even in that moment of grief. But you said, this is worse than when my dad died.
Okay. You know what? You're not allowed to ridicule me about that. That's a very personal tragedy.
I know, but...
Obviously it's not. That's called hyperbole. But... No, it's obviously not the same thing, but it is a similar pain. Like, at the time, it felt like a similar pain, and I know that sounds absurd, but we are going so long on this Star Wars.
I know.
Okay, a couple final things, but this is basically my arc. At that point, I was really upset about it, because here's my basic feeling, is that regardless of your views on the prequels, or like the varying quality of the different Star Wars movies, they are a single vision of one person.
Right.
And to me, that's what's always been interesting about them. I enjoy the expanded universe, like, just as a fan, but I don't think of it, to me, the Star Wars, the 6 movies, that's like a work of, like, actual art. And I don't really care about the books that much, like, they're kind of just fun diversions. And so the idea of having other people besides Lucas oversee a Star Wars movie seemed wrong to me. So that really upset me. And at some point they hired people who I was interested... They hired J.J. Abrams. This was before Star Trek Into Darkness. And
right.
I'm a huge Lost fan. I think The Lost Pilot is the best, maybe the best directed thing that's ever aired on television. I actually really love his first Star Trek movie. And I liked Mission Impossible 3 and Super 8 a lot as well. But, so I was kind of like, no, that seems about right, and he's better suited to Star Wars than Star Trek, and all that stuff. And then when the cast announcement happened, I thought, oh, well, like, everybody on the cast is great, basically. I was like, So that really impressed me, and I got actually very excited. Then the title announcement happened, and I thought it was so boring that I was just like, it kind of brought down my excitement again. Mm-hmm. But then this trailer, I think, brought it back up about halfway between those.
Right, because
I think the trailer is interesting and exciting, but I mean, I'm still going to hold out some.
As time has gone on, both of us have kind of accepted it. Yes, we've both accepted it. So
it is a grieving process.
Right, it was definitely a grieving process.
This is a completely new era, basically. That's the thing. Like, it's just for me. It was for me and Dabeedo. We grew up in a period when we knew that he was going to make that Lucas was going to make the prequels. So we knew there were always going to be 6 movies, and it just feels like such a complete story. They mirror each other so much. It's like it's very tightly plotted.
Right, and like so much of my life is based around those prequels. Like
it informed my experiences so much.
Right, and like I specifically remember thinking, like. This was at a time in my life, like when Revenge of the Sith came out, it was at a really awkward time in my life because like my family was going through some like financial issues.
Oh, okay.
And when episode 3 came out, they were like had no money. So I literally went to the bank and cashed in savings bonds that I had.
Oh my god.
To go see episode 3.
That warms my heart.
And I remember specifically thinking to myself, like, this is the last Star Wars movie. Like, I'm never going to have this experience again.
Yeah. So it's really weird. That's how I'm feeling about it right now. It's extremely weird. I watched the trailer yesterday. I watched it with my brother, who's also a big Star Wars fan, and like afterwards, I like just kind of like looked at the screen. I had hooked up my computer to my TV, and like I was like, we're gonna watch it, and I looked at the screen, and I like didn't say anything, and I just replayed it.
Yeah,
I like did it like I think 2 or 3 times in a row, and Then I said, like, okay, this is strange. Because in a year, in 1 year, there's going to be a new Star Wars movie.
And a year after that, there'll be another one.
We can talk about that some other time.
Some other one. Okay. So, yeah, it was...
It's so strange for me because it felt like such a complete narrative, or a narrative with, like, before the prequels came out, or, like, before Revenge of the Sith came out, it just felt like, okay, there's an end date here. Like, and Revenge of the Sith is such a final, like, even though it's not chronologically the final chapter, it's so designed as like the last thing, and so it kind of is. It's just weird for me. It's still weird,
right?
And but I'm excited, kind of the same way I would be about like an interesting sounding Star Wars book,
right? And people our age have a very interesting experience with Star Wars because I was first shown the movies in '95.
Yeah, I was around when I saw them.
That's when my father showed them to me on the original VHS box set, and then the special edition happened. And then everybody our age became huge into Star Wars.
I think that's the thing. We are the youngest people who like only ever knew Star Wars as the trilogy, and then had the prequels and the potential disappointment of
because I remember being super popular in kindergarten because me and a kid named Mikey, we had all the most Star Wars toys ever. I specifically remember in playtime, I had a Micro Machine Slave 1.
Oh my god, I had that and the Endor one. I can't.
Oh, nice.
I am so happy. The Endor one was great, except the Ewoks were so small that I lost them.
So, I had the Micro Machine Slave 1. Like, everybody had their own Micro Machine ship. I had Slave 1, and I lost Boba Fett. And I remember there was a substitute teacher that day, and I had the whole class looking for that Boba Fett.
Oh, man.
I ended up finding him on, like, the Fisher-Price, like, play kitchen. He was, like, sitting on the sink, like, sitting there. But I remember just specifically, like, that. So.
I can tell you, as a substitute teacher myself, I would help any kid find his Slave 1 Micro Machine.
Boba Fett, yes.
Anyway, that's what we thought of the Star Wars trailer.
Okay,
we'll probably talk more about it.
We haven't talked about the Falcon yet.
It's a beautiful shot.
Beautiful shot. The most Abrams shot ever.
It's a great. It's extremely Abrams, but like it's a great. It's what he's really good at.
Right.
And I think. Action-wise, I'm very excited about the movie. I think the space battles and the lightsaber duels will be great. I'm very confident about that. We'll see about the story, and we'll keep you updated as more news comes in. This is the long. Where are we at?
We are at 49 minutes.
49 minutes. That's like as long as our first episode. So, anyway, let's get started.
Okay, give me the clues.
Okay, here's the clues. The movie this week, one of its stars, or actually both of its stars, have made documentaries,
Okay.
and
And it's in color. We know that from last week, right?
oh, I did mention that last
Okay.
week. Okay, but the second clue is that one of the other characters in the movie is also in a recent David Cronenberg movie. The character, not the actor.
Oh my god.
It's not his most recent, but it's a recent one.
Okay. What the fuck? Is it History of Violence?
No, it's not a Cronenberg movie. Oh,
No,
it's the movie.
There's
no.
a movie. Okay.
No,
so
it's after that.
post. So, like, what did he do after he did that movie with the dude from Twilight? That's his most recent, right?
He just made a movie this year, but it's 2 movies back.
Fuck, what did he do? I can't remember, like, what was the Cronenberg after that? Alright. I do not know.
You're giving up? You're not even going to guess? Give us a
documentaries. Have made documentaries.
Both of its stars. Is made dudes.
Huh. Have made
I'll explain these hit clues as well once you know.
Okay,
I'll explain them after the break.
Okay, good idea.
So you don't know?
I do not know.
Okay, well, you know what that means.
Into the vault.
Dabeedo's in the vault. Alright, come back after the movie.
Bill, Ted, this is really quite simple. Unless you get an A+ on your final oral report tomorrow, I have no choice but to flunk the both of you.
2 epic airheads.
Who is Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife?
We're in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow, Ted.
1 time traveling telephone booth.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
I'm here to help you with your history report.
What?
That book will give you the number of any place you want to go.
Let's reach out and touch someone.
Who knew history
2 beers, please.
could be such an excellent adventure?
Who's here? Billy the Kid. Don't worry, we'll bring you back here as soon as you talk at our report. Socrates. Philosophize with him. All we are is dust in the wind, dude. We are in most excellent shape for our report. Excuse me, do you know where there are any personages of historical significance around here? How's it going, royal ugly dudes?
Put them in the iron meat.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus.
Keanu Reeves,
Those are historical babes.
Alex Winter,
It's a history report, not a babe report.
Napoleon,
Ziggy Biggy.
Genghis Khan, Sigmund Freud,
How's it going, fruit dude?
Socrates, and Abraham Lincoln.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Right?
Alright, we're back.
That was, of course, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, directed by Stephen Herrick, and that matters really for me. It's starring Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter. I'll quick explain the connections to the clues. The first one was that both leads had made documentaries. Keanu Reeves hosted and produced a documentary called Side by Side about film versus digital a couple years ago. And Alex Winter directed a documentary about Napster called Downloaded that actually is really good. I recommend it. And of course it also stars George Carlin. And and the second clue is Sigmund Freud was also in A Dangerous Method, which is a movie that Cronenberg made a few years ago that was about the relationship between Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. I believe he was played by Viggo Mortensen. I haven't seen the movie, but so there's that.
Yeah.
Okay, you're on trial here. Basic thoughts of the movie.
Excellent.
Oh,
Dude.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, if Hard Day's Night was like the pinnacle of fun, then this is like way above that in terms of like fun level. It took fun to the next level. It's a fucking Empire State Building of fun.
It is. I agree. It is one of the most fun movies ever made.
Oh my god, there's so many things that made me laugh. Like that whole mall sequence, like fucking Beethoven on like the keyboard.
Well, let's quick explain for these fools who listen to the show without watching the movie. The movie is basically about two guys, two basically burnout kids, played by Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, and they are destined to be the saviors of the world, basically,
Yeah.
if they start this band together. But if they fail this upcoming history report,
The
Ted
band
will
will-
be sent away to Alaska, and the
The
band
ba-
will never happen.
So utopian society will never exist.
So basically, Rufus, played by George Carlin, comes back in time to help them pass their history report, and so they go back in time to various different periods and bring back to like the present day a bunch of historical figures to make their presentation
You
incredible.
can figure out the rest. The
You-
story.
Yeah,
the
that's
story.
the end of the story. Yeah,
The story is pretty predictable.
It is incredible. Okay, now I think personally, I think this is easily like one of the great like pop movies of the '80s. Like,
Yeah.
I like it. It's not like it has, as far as pure entertainment value. There are so few movies that even come close to this, for me anyway. It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
God.
Keanu Reeves, who I defend in general, but this is his greatest performance, and that's not like a slight on him at all. It's an incredible, like, comic performance. Like, the timing of every line is
Right.
perfect.
He's just like Sean Penn in Fast Times at Ridgemont
Yeah,
High.
it's a similar
like,
performance.
Yeah, like like.
And I don't want to discredit Alex Winter, too, who is also incredible.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That movie was just. God, I suck.
Okay.
Because I just like.
Well, I'll focus the discussion a little bit. Okay. So, of all of the various different historical figures, who did you think was the funniest?
Oh, Socrates.
Yes, Socrates. First of all,
Socrates
just
is the
by
king.
itself, Socrates is hilarious. And yeah, I think him and Billy the Kid are the funniest.
Yeah,
'cause,
they are the funniest.
I like how Billy the Kid basically is pretty close to being like Bill and Ted. So
Right, yeah.
he gets along with them, and like he immediately goes along with their
Yeah,
plan.
because like immediately they go from like ancient Greece to like medieval time, and like they say, you keep Socrates here, Billy the Kid. So what does
They
Billy the
trust
Kid?
him like completely. This like
so-
legendary outlaw. They just trust.
So what
him.
does Billy the Kid do? Billy the Kid pulls out a Nerf football that Ted has in his book bag and starts playing catch with Socrates.
So good.
That's so funny.
There's
And
so
then-
many great little bits here.
And I think behind Socrates, Beethoven.
Oh,
Like,
Beethoven's
Beethoven
really
made me laugh really hard.
I love, and I mean, I think like you just have to give it up for Abraham Lincoln too. Just,
Yeah.
like there's two scenes especially. There's one that's very obvious, but the one where Ted's father, who's a police chief, is like getting his information after they've arrested all of them at the mall, like, is so funny. The way he like is just like February 9th or February 12th. 1809, like he like knows it's just blowing into his mind, like
Right.
he's like I'm Abraham Lincoln, and then of course at the end of the speech is incredible. What did you think of the vision of the future in this movie? I think it's one of the most like appealing future visions ever.
It's like 80s rock meets Logan's Run.
Without like the killing people in their 30s thing.
Yeah, just more. It's like even more utopian than Logan's Run.
I wouldn't call it Logan's Run utopian.
Well, no, I said it's utopian with the fact that
It's actually utopian.
it's actual utopia.
Logan's Run's a dystopia.
Well, yeah. Well, it looks like a utopia,
Right,
but
yes,
it's really
yes,
a dystopia.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but oh man, I think there's just a lot of great. I think the screenplay needs to be called out here. It was written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, who actually went on and they wrote the sequel, and they also wrote the first Men in Black movie. But and they were like one of the 50 writers on the Super Mario Brothers movie. But I think it's like a really tight screenplay, kind of in a Back to the Future-ian way.
Right.
In that, like, there's nothing that's brought up that's not used later, and
Right.
all that kind of thing.
And also the at the very end when they started leaving, like their future selves started leaving stuff for their past selves, like that whole police station scene was absolutely hilarious. Like whole use of time travel was so funny.
I think the moment I knew that you would like love the movie. Well, I mean, I've loved this movie since I was like a very small child,
Right.
but like when we were watching it, the moment I realized, oh, this is like definitely Dabeedo won't just like this, he'll love this. I knew it was during the first scene when Rufus comes to meet them, and like the other phone booth comes down, and the other Bill and Ted come out. I was like, oh, that's like right up. Like Dabeedo loves that kind of shit.
It's so funny.
It's so good, and I have to say something about that scene. That takes place in the parking lot of a Circle K convenience store, and I only ever knew Circle K from this movie, and then there's a convenience store around the corner from my house that about 10, 12 years ago used to be a Dairy Mart.
Yeah, Dairy Mart. That happened in my town,
It
too.
turned into a Circle K, and I legitimately didn't know that Circle K was a real chain. So, like, I was blown away, and I, like, basically every single time I went to Circle K for the first, like, 5 years, I would say strange things are afoot at the Circle K. And I still think it, like, at least, like, every 5 times I go there. It is... I'm so, like, it makes me so happy that I can just be in a Circle K parking lot. Like, and knowing, like, this is, like, what if, like, Rufus just came and, like, is like, I'm gonna help you. I mean, when I was in school, I'd be like, man, if I was doing badly in a class, I was like, man, I can just go up to Circle K, Rufus is gonna come down, and he's gonna, like, help me with my whatever report. It was great.
Oh, man.
I mean, cinematically, the movie is fairly straightforward.
Right,
I
I mean,
don't, like, there's not a ton to say about it, but I think that it is, like, an achievement in terms of the screenplay, and also just as a comic piece, I think it's just fairly unparalleled in its era. Because, like, there's no meanness in the movie, which I think is interesting. It's, like, a totally good-hearted and good-natured comedy, but that's actually really funny, which is really hard to do.
Right.
Like, there's no real jokes at anyone else's expense. I mean, there's a couple, like, royal ugly dudes type things, but, like, whatever. But, you know, like, the secret to why Bill and Ted work as a relationship, despite the fact that they don't, like, give them deep inner lives or anything, is that you can tell they genuinely, like, love each other and care about each other, and that they, like, care about everyone. You can believe that they, like, because of how good they are, you believe that they're the saviors of the world.
Fag.
Oh, boy. Okay, that's one dated aspect of the movie.
Yeah, like...
you are becoming the king of that word on this show. You said it like 12 times
I don't
last
remember
episode.
ever saying that.
You were quoting something, like you were
right.
this week. I'm just saying.
Okay. So,
maybe cool it next week.
one of these like the characters that like Bill and Ted are, like, this just goes to show how like good the movie is. Like in most movies, characters like them are just like complete imbeciles, like, and you cannot stand them. So like immediately when the movie began, I was like, okay, like these characters could just like get like super annoying almost immediately, and they were just never ever annoying.
Yeah, it's like, because like you could just like you want them to succeed,
like,
not just because you want the world to be saved, although you don't know the full details of that until the end, but like you want them to pass their class. You want them to like be able to learn their instruments. You want all of that for them because they just seem like such like they're dim-witted, but they're like such good hearts.
Like they're idiots, but they never do anything in the movie that's just like, oh my god, you two are like so incredibly stupid.
There's lots of ingenuity.
You're right. There's actually
their idea for the report is like that's not what Rufus came back to tell them. Oh, bring back.
Yeah, right.
Like he just was like, oh, go visit these sites.
Right, and then like they go into the castle, they put the suits of armor on, and then of course going back to the police station scene where they're like, oh, we'll leave stuff in the future, but we got to remember to leave this stuff after like we're done. Like,
yeah, like I got another scene that I think is just basically perfect. Is the final scene of the movie, which is after the report's done. Bill and Ted are just hanging out in the garage, like at the beginning of the movie,
Right.
and they're just practicing, like, and they seem kind of down on their luck, and then Rufus shows up with these two girls who they met in medieval
princesses,
England, the two princesses, and like every single line is just paying something off in that scene. Like it's just like everything that Rufus says is just like a payoff to something they set up earlier. It's
Right.
incredible, and the last line of the movie is classic. Just Rufus looking at us, being like, after they're playing terribly,
Yeah.
just they do get better. It's so good.
Oh man, historical babes.
Historical babes. Yeah, there's so many there's such an intricacy to the way Bill and Ted speak that I find really interesting. Like they just they just, they'll say things that are like non-triumphant. Or like instead of there's the scene where Bill thinks Ted is dead.
Yeah.
And he's just like most heinous, most non-triumphant. I should also explain that the reason Dabeedo called me by a gay epithet earlier was because if people haven't seen the movie in a while, I don't want them to be like, "Oh, Dabeedo, that homophobic asshole!" Like, okay,
It's a reference to the movie.
I'm
you don't
protecting
need to
you.
explain
I'm protecting you. Anyway,
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I think there. Oh my god, there's so much in this movie that I love. I love Bill's stepmother. Every joke about that is funny. Like you would think that would just be it is such a one joke thing, but like every time it's brought up, it's funny. Like Bill always like accidentally calls her Missy, and then it's like I mean mom. Every time it's funny. I never fail to smile,
And like every guy who sees her is just like immediately like drawn to her too. Like,
yeah, and like that's like that. Everybody has to be reminded that it's Bill's mom.
Yeah.
And I love the scene at the beginning of the movie with Bill's dad.
When they got when they ended up back in present day.
In San Dimas.
Yeah, in San Dimas, and like they land in the garden. I think it's Billy the Kid who
It's
says
Billy
like,
the Kid.
yeah, he's like, "Who's the babe?"
Yeah, of course. 'Cause Bill, like that's what I was saying. Billy the Kid is like the closest in terms of actual. Well, I guess Sigmund Freud is closest in terms of actual time, but I mean he's a different type of person. But like, yeah, I that's what I appreciate. That's one of the things I appreciate about the movie, and the scene at the beginning with Bill's father, like it's just so weird, and like the way he closes the door. Like when him and Missy are about to have sex in Bill's bedroom.
so funny.
This is an interesting movie because it's like a very modest, like kind of movie. It came out in February or something like that, and like it became like a big phenomenon. There's a sequel, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and like there was a cartoon show and a live action TV show.
What?
Yes, which is very hard to find anything from. There's clips on YouTube, but like,
oh shit,
it's terrible. It's like doesn't get it at all. There's a comic book.
Well, yeah,
the cartoon and comic books are. The comic book is actually especially interesting because it's written and drawn by Evan Dorkin, who's a great like underground cartoonist from that time who's most famous for a comic strip called Milk and Cheese. But it's actually really good and like is very much in the spirit of the movies.
But this is actually kind of funny because I have the movie adaptation comic book, which Kristen gave me, and then our friend Kristen, and then for like 2 years I've had issue 1 and 2 of like the Marvel comics, and Tim has been on my ass about getting them from me.
Yeah, because he's never seen this movie, and it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. He knew this. And like,
well, now you're for sure not getting them.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, whatever. It's fine. I gave up on that dream long ago.
I was thinking about it this Christmas. Like, I was like, maybe I'll finally give them up. But you just fucked that one.
Oh, whatever. I'm happy to share the joy that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with you. So I mean, this is I'm glad we kind of did overtalk in the first part, because, like, as great as Bill and Ted is, it is a very kind of light, fluffy movie
Right.
that doesn't have a ton to, like, dig into, necessarily.
No.
But I do think if you haven't seen it and you're still listening for some reason, go see this movie. I think it's on Netflix now, actually, but you can also find it basically anywhere on DVD.
Right.
But it is just such a joyous, wonderful movie. I just wish it would have the respect that it deserves sometimes more, because, like, I think people enjoy it for what it is, but, like, I think it's, like, a genuinely perfect, like, comedy of this type. Like, it's like a perfect movie for what it is.
And
So,
also, if you were listening and haven't seen the movie, we've essentially, like, we've told a ton, but we've, like...
yeah, there's so much that you could
you
still-
know absolutely nothing about Waterloo.
Oh my god, one of the funniest sequences.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta talk about the soundtrack.
Oh, the
for
soundtrack
movie.
was super
The
fun.
soundtrack is like is probably the most dated aspect of the movie, except for Dabeedo's favorite word there. But it's like all these songs are just like the perfect like minor '80s songs. Like they were all made for the movie. It's one of those
Right.
early soundtracks that was just developed for the movie, and there's and they're all just. I never listen to this kind of music. This is more Dabeedo's lane in terms of music. I never listen to this kind of music, but I love every song in this movie.
Right.
Two heads are better than one. In Time, which is a song that's played over the sequence when Bill and Ted go into the future and see like what they've
Right,
created.
yeah.
Like
There's
there's a bunch of great
it's used
songs.
so well, like especially like when Joan of Arc is like praying, and then all of a sudden,
Oh
like,
yeah, and Ted reaches out.
yeah,
her
and
hand,
the music like is
oh my
that's
God.
so
It's
good.
like Ted is God.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack. And I'm sure you'll hear selections from it in this episode. So I suppose we can talk about your homework, which is. You might not be surprised, listeners, to learn that it is the sequel to this film, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, originally titled Bill and Ted Go to Hell. This movie is one of the... I don't know if it's one of, or maybe the only comedy sequel that is, like, as good as the original. It is a great movie, like, and it's, like, different, but, like, still has the spirit, and it's incredible. I don't want to give too much away about it, but you will love it. I'm looking forward to discussing it with you. But so I would like to call out to our 3 or 4 listeners. If you've seen both movies, which one do you prefer? I'm curious about that, because I think there's a huge split in terms of people who actually like have seen Bogus Journey. Like, people either are Excellent Adventure people or Bogus Journey people, and I think they're about as good as each other, but I probably will always have more of a soft spot for the first one. But the second one has so much to recommend about it. So, yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
I do not. I mean, we've covered essentially everything. That movie was the fucking Sears Tower of fun.
The CN Tower. Get it right. Anyway.
Like I said, dated. Like you said.
We started a thing last week.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're going to learn a little bit more about each other. We've been meaning to do this, and we keep forgetting to do this, so I'm just going to ask you, like, so I will ask the question this time.
Okay.
What is, give me 3 of your favorite movies.
3 of my favorite movies. Okay. Well, Star Wars, of course. Everybody
We
already
don't
knows
need
that.
to explain that
we're
further.
not including that. Probably Dazed and Confused.
Oh, man.
The best
Yeah.
Linklater movie.
It's a great movie.
They're all great. That's his crowning achievement.
Yeah.
RoboCop,
Okay.
which is... It's also... it's a product of its time. Like, it came out in '87, directed by Paul Verhoeven. Probably, I think, Paul Verhoeven's best film. But
Not even a question.
but
I mean, he has other good ones.
right, yeah, that's definitely his best. But there's also, if you write it off as just kitschy, like, 80s action, there's so much more to RoboCop, so many underlying
I feel like
themes.
nobody really writes it off anymore.
Well,
it's a pretty well-respected movie.
I know it is, but, like, I still feel like there are those people on Instagram and, like, Tumblr who tag RoboCop whenever they have, like, a leg brace or something, like, because they hurt their foot or something.
That's just a reference. I'm not really...
I know, but I feel like they're doing it as a joke. I can't stand it.
Dabeedo gets very sensitive about RoboCop.
Well, but here's the RoboCop one, perfect, front to back. Actually, there was an article published recently. I didn't know if you saw it or not, but story-wise, if you divide the movie in half at the dead middle, both sides are reflective of each other.
Oh, wow.
They mirror each other. So the opening scene...
have to check that out next time I watch it.
In the opening scene of the movie, we establish who Alex Murphy is. We're introduced to Alex Murphy. In the last scene, we're reintroduced to Alex Murphy.
Oh.
So, like, if you go through every scene, like, if you take the first half, take the second half, and go this way, they all mirror each other.
All right, give me one more.
Oh, okay, one more. Now, here's the issue. I didn't think that far.
Well, if you want to just go Star Wars Days of Confused RoboCop.
I'm going to throw one more.
Okay.
Probably, I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Seven Samurai, probably.
Okay.
That's... I don't want to... Like, I want to say it's my favorite Kurosawa, but Kurosawa has, like,
It's
so much good stuff.
impossible to choose.
Like,
honestly.
and there's so much, like...
But it's... I think it's always going to be my favorite just because it's, like, my introduction, and not just to him, but to, like, such a wider world of movies.
Right, and also, like, it's basically... Like, it's kind of like the pinnacle of, like, his whole career, like... You know, all his early stuff worked to Seven Samurai, and all of his stuff after was just like, well, how do I, like, I worked my
I would
way
say
to
that's
Seven Samurai.
Rashomon is the dividing line.
You think?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple other ones, but I'd say it goes. I'd say he's working towards Rashomon, and then that's his first, like,
Okay, I can see
unqualified
that, yeah.
masterpiece.
Yeah, I can see
and
that.
then, because then he makes Ikiru, and then he makes, like...
Right.
And, like, Seven Samurai is a couple movies down from that.
Right.
Like,
That's
I
true.
think he...
Well, that whole... Okay, well, then that time period is
Yeah,
like...
or, like, first half of the 50s.
And then, of course, after that, he was just like, okay, well, how can I... Because afterwards, didn't we get High and Low after that?
High and Low is early 60s.
Okay, we got Redbeard.
That's, like, 65.
And then...
Yojimbo, Sanjuro.
Right.
Those are in the 60s.
And then, of course, post his... working with Toshiro, we got...
Dersu Uzala.
Oh my god, that movie is so good.
It's a great movie.
But
And then
the beauty of that
Kagemusha.
movie is, dude was blacklisted in Japan.
He had to go to Russia.
Then he tried to kill himself.
Right. That
failed.
that's
Went
the
to
timeline.
ended up going to Russia because it was the only place where he could get financing for a movie, and they wanted him to make a propaganda film. Okay, so he essentially made a propaganda film, but he also made the most beautiful movie about friendship you'll ever see.
It's a great, great movie. Anyway, yeah, so that cool. For me, three
Okay.
favorite movies.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always going to be Star Wars. And by the way, I don't know about you, but I'm a Star Wars person, not an Empire person. I've definitively proved this over the last year because I used to always alternate, and like I have not wavered in the last like year or two. Like I feel like the first one is the better movie overall. But we can talk about that some other time.
After this, I have one more thing I want to say that's kind of not related about this, but it's related to sequels.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
This is the most disorganized.
I know.
episode.
You could cut this out so we seem organized, but...
Well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, so you stole one of mine. Days of Confused is basically my second favorite movie. So I will skip that one, and I'll say, let's see, Almost Famous.
Oh, that's really good, yeah.
The untitled version.
Right.
It's just... it's a movie I can't even like really think critically about. It's so I have such a personal love of it. but it's also like I can look at it objectively, and it's a great movie.
It's
and you didn't see it till you were
right.
till a couple years ago.
But
so,
I mean, it just like it's so good. There's so much good stuff in that movie.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Jason Lee, the band,
Stillwater.
Stillwater, Fever Dog.
All right, another, and then this is hard, but I'm gonna go. And these are not definitive. We're trying to give you an idea of our general taste.
Yeah.
I'll go. There's a great movie called Only Yesterday that I think everyone should see. That is by Isao Takahata, who directed a movie called Grave of the Fireflies that we'll probably talk about on this show at some point. But that's real. I love that movie, and and I can't forget Do the Right Thing is easily top 5 for me. That's basically, I think, in some ways, the best movie ever made. So, and Spike Lee's my main dude. So we'll be talking about him again as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's this thing about sequels? And then we really need to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay. So, probably like a couple months ago, I was just at my parents' house. I had to like watch the dog or something because we just got a new dog, and I was sitting there flipping through the channels. I think it was Spike was playing. I caught the tail end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. They were doing a marathon, and then Temple of Doom came on.
Right.
And if you are one of these people who hate Temple of Doom,
screw you.
Like,
I love Temple of Doom.
Like,
here's the thing about Indiana Jones. It is the easiest series to rank. You know why? Because it obviously goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Not
right.
4 if you want to count 4.
Like people who shit on Temple of Doom, like,
and love Last Crusade. Those are the worst people. Like, if you just don't like any of the sequels, I think you're wrong. But like, I can get that.
Right.
But like, if you love Last Crusade and you shit on Temple of Doom, I don't understand you as a person. Last Crusade is fun, but that's really all it is. It's like, as far as Spielberg goes, it's really weak. Like, the action is so weak for Spielberg.
Right.
Who's like, I think, basically the best action director of all time.
And it has that third movie, like, I guess I would call it third movie-itis, where, like, the second movie introduces completely new ideas, completely different things, but the third movie, of course, just references the first movie nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, and it has lots of, like, fun stuff about it. I don't want to, like, just shit on Last Crusade, but like, Temple of Doom is, like, decidedly different and interesting. Like, there's problems with it. It's not, like, a perfect movie like Raiders, but, like, it's a really, I think it's a really good, fun movie.
It's that...
Short Round is the
Short Round, the whole mine chase, like, on when they're in the carts,
yeah,
like...
the action sequences are maybe the best in the series, besides...
Right, and, like, and if you shit on Temple of Doom so much, and you think Crystal Skull is, like, better...
I've seen that from a couple people, and that is baffling.
You need to stop listening immediately.
That is baffling.
Like, we
anyway.
will never agree on anything.
All right,
And then one more thing. Like, I'm tired of people also shitting on Phantom Menace. Like, we get it. Like, the prequels have issues.
Here's the thing.
But Phantom Menace is way better than half the shit that comes out now.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. I agree. I would rather watch any of the Star Wars prequels than most modern blockbusters because, like I said earlier, there's a vision behind them.
Right.
And while I think Phantom Menace is a genuinely bad movie,
it has massive story issues.
But I do think people that go out of the way, it's kind of a similar thing to like people who think that like, I mean, it's not a perfect analogy, but it's like people who think that like M. Night Shyamalan is one of the worst directors of all time. They know nothing about movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and The Village are all like impeccably well directed, and like he's a great director who's had some bad material and some bad movies.
Right.
Like that's not the same thing as a bad director. Like, and as far as Phantom Menace goes, if you think Phantom Menace is one of the worst movies of all time, you are an idiot.
Right.
Like, period. You're a dumb person.
Right.
So that's all I have to say about that.
And just get off Jar Jar. Like, we get
Jar Jar's terrible.
We get it, Jar Jar's terrible, but fucking accept it, okay?
Right.
Like, Jar Jar happened.
Well, thank you for listening to
thank you.
Tim and Dabeedo's Star Wars podcast with a little bit of Bill and Ted discussion.
All right, well,
we'll be back next week. You gotta go into the vault. I promise we'll talk more about the movie that we say we're talking about next time. Join us next time when our movie will be Barry Levinson's Diner in celebration of Christmas. It's not a very Christmassy movie, but it takes place around that time, and, you know, whatever. It's my show. I can do what I want.